Okay, so what about making another video? It's been a few weeks. So yeah, I'm going with the rough look because rough times I think deserve a rough look. Yeah. So what's new? What's new in the world? Inflation is still rising. I think many people can see that. You see transport and logistics and ships that now have go a different route. So usually if you get your stuff from China or whatever, it would be shipped, but they can't go through the regular route anymore, so they have to go around. So they have to go longer distances, and that's going to cause additional expenses. Then, yeah, what else? Politicians still lie to you, pretending like the economy is booming. If you look through stocks, then you see a lot of companies that have negative forecasts. You see a lot of companies that lay people off. So in reality, whatever like politicians or the Fed or central banks want to tell you, like the economy is not looking great. You see a lot of layoffs. If the economy would be booming, there wouldn't be layoffs. So the only thing that keeps the stock market afloat, I think, is only like a handful of stocks. It's like Nvidia, maybe Microsoft, and a couple other ones. But if you look through many stocks, they've been declining for a while already, and many companies or corporations reported negative outlooks. So the regular company can feel it. I think even the person can feel it, that money is not as loose anymore. People are more picky about what they're spending money on, and they have to, because their money is not going as far anymore. So they get less for their money. Then, yeah, you see a banking crisis around the corner with banks that hold corporate offices or just hold assets that are losing in value. And from my understanding, they don't get liquidity, they don't get money from other banks because they have a negative balance sheet, because their assets are worth less than what it used to be with the falling prices, or with the inflation boom essentially, and then 3 years later with the decline of those market values of those real estate or like office properties. But yeah, so you see one bank after another kind of like dropping. You see in Europe where they put things in place that they call bail-ins, and instead of having a bailout, like you would think that if banks have no liquidity, that they somehow being bailed out. Now it's changed into a bail-in. So essentially, also from my understanding, if a bank goes bankrupt, if they can't pay, then essentially they're giving the people just shares of the company or shares of the bank. So essentially you're getting worthless shares in exchange for the money that you're being owed, but you're not getting your money back because they can't pay you back. So, and who wants shares of a bank that essentially defaults or is bankrupt, right? So, yeah. So at least that's what you see in Europe happening a little bit, that they put legislations in that, or have legislations now for that, which means there's something looming in regards of banks. So yeah, I think from what I'm reading, so when I read the market, when I see like, usually you can tell by the volatility, by how quiet it is in the market, or like how volatile it is. I think you can tell when the next event is going to happen, and it's at the moment very quiet, you could say. Like normally you would see more volatility in the market, which you don't at the moment. The volatility is quite low, so but you can, and it's every time it's getting too quiet or too with little movement, you're gonna have the next bang. So I think the next bang is gonna happen like within a month or two. Yeah. So then what else? Yeah, it's getting the seeing money being devalued around the world, everywhere. Then what's left, right? So like I'm not a big fan of like promoting crypto or anything, but I think we are in this mess also because we having a debt-based monetary system. So the one thing about crypto that still like speaks for it, even though I don't like how much regulations have been put on it, and that it's so integrated now in the regular financial system, or more and more becomes like something that's supposed to be against the system, now suddenly is like part of the system essentially, or is supposed to become part of the system. But still, when it comes to the idea of having something as a currency, then I think Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general are maybe a better choice in the long run. I think it's getting to the point where if you just think further what happens if like money is tight and they keep interest rates that high and banks don't lend money, so there's no new money coming into the economy, then I think we're gonna see more revolts with people not being able to afford what they need for the basic necessities. So I think it's good to see if you have people that you can, or like sort of create a community with. So yeah, because even if this time it's going to be okay in a sense that not everything is going to crash in the sense like complete end of the world, then the latest would be at 2030, around that time at least, because the US is not going to be able to pay their debt anymore. So their interest on the debt will be high enough, they can't even, with taxes that they bring in, can't even pay their debts anymore. So people are gonna lose trust in the currency, in the US dollar. So everything is kind of like a little bit messed. So, and then you have the BRICS, which is like an alliance of different countries that no longer trade with the US dollar. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just good to get prepared right now. Yeah, see that you have everything that you need in regards of food security, just general security. If you have, if you live in a city, maybe how you can get out of that city, because cities are like central points. So if unrest happens, because money, there's no money going around, there's no new money coming in, or people can't afford anything, then you're gonna see the unrest, especially within cities. So maybe a good idea also to look like how you can get out of a city if you are in a city. Yeah, making connections with good people, I think, is another thing. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts to what presently is happening. Another thing is maybe that everyone is being pushed into our war, or they try to push us into our war. Everyone that's like just on the side of like, no, like we don't need to antagonize other countries, we don't need, this can end peacefully, is being called misinformer or some propagandist for Russian propagandist or whatever. When reality, like the only reason people are pushing for war or have an incentive to go to war is most likely because they are in Lockheed Martin or have shares in like the weapons industry, who would make a profit from that. And also the war that's politicians try to push everyone into might be also because the dollar is losing its reserve currency, or it's losing its trust, and it's being seen less and less as a safe haven, and whoever has the reserve currency essentially is the superpower, or has the privilege of living in a way where they can just let other countries pay for their debts, and is in a better position. So yeah, I think that's another reason why war is being pushed, or why war is more and more coming to the surface. And yeah, I think putting a little bit into crypto is a good idea. You want to be getting away from the US dollar, I think, because the trust behind it, it's still like being used partially as a safe haven, but I think it's losing its trust. And yeah, another thing I thought was, it's interesting how in the US a lot of people say like, oh, they're being invaded by immigrants. And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's karma, but in a sense you could say it's karma, because like over how many decades did the US invade countries? Yeah, I guess it's partially karma maybe, right? So yeah, but it's good to look how you survive in a scenario that banks are failing, unrest is happening, to have a plan B in place, and yeah, to prepare a little bit. So those are my thoughts. And yeah, if you have any thoughts, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I see you in the next video.